Hey, and welcome to TellSamyra. So today's video is about why I went no contact with my family. So the reason I did it is before that point, I kept going back and forth with my mother anytime I would call, which would probably be about a few times a month, because I had already started limiting contact, meaning sometimes I wouldn't call her for Mother's Day, sometimes I wouldn't call her for her birthday, or I was being passive aggressive, or I would call her days after her birthday and say, oh, I was busy or whatever. I would do that just because of the history of how she was treating me, not because how I was treated in the past, is because it was ongoing. Even though we didn't see each other much in person because we live far away, but it was still like talking down to me on the phone, or always trying to manipulate me or to tell lies to try to get money out of me. So for instance, she would go ahead and talk. She had this big bump on her head that kept growing over the years. People would try to talk to her about it. She would go off, start cursing, never wanted to acknowledge it. But something happened. She figured out where she could try to get money out of it. So she kept talking about she needed different, I don't know what the test was, MRIs and things for the head. Then I was not able to give her the money. But she would say that she had started calling other people. She was getting mad with different people because they couldn't give her the money, upset, and wouldn't talk to people anymore because they wouldn't give her the money. So then anytime, if it wasn't about the procedure she was going to get done and how much money she needed for that, oh, she don't know how she's going to eat. The woman is almost $350 or whatever like that, and talking about she don't know how she's going to eat. For some reason in her mind, I guess she thought that that was a believable con, but who knows? So she kept going on in that, and I was always trying to be the rescuer. Well, have you thought about this pantry, that pantry? But everything in me knew that this was a lie. But I'd be like, what about this pantry? This why I wouldn't offer to send the money, because one, I didn't even have it to send, but and she knew that, but she didn't care. And from what she would say is like she believes she's the mother, and so I should sacrifice and make sure she has, trying to reverse the roles, that making me trying to put me in a spot of the caretaker. So it was like she didn't know how she was going to pay this bill, didn't know how she was going to pay this bill. She moved from her home in one city, so I thought it was going to get better because this was a huge house she was living in by herself. But then even when she moved, it was still the same. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to pay this. Oh, I don't know how I'm doing this. She would say, and these things I believe were lies. She would say that she would go to church and someone would tell her, oh, why your daughters, they should be taking care of you, saying that she was asking people at the church for money. And so, these are different things she would come back to tell me for manipulation. She would also tell me the craziest stories about my sisters, that one had dropped her kid off on her, really didn't leave her any money, dropped the dog off, the gerbil and the kid, and really wasn't giving her enough money for the kid, and it was such a burden. The other sister kept needing money, never paying money back. So she just keep painting these negative pictures about my siblings, and it didn't dawn on me that she was doing the same thing about me. Me and my sisters weren't close, and that was by design, how we were raised. Why would we be close? Because of that dynamic. But so we really wouldn't talk to one another. Maybe a happy birthday here now and then. But as I started to see that she kept trying to get money for this thing on her head and for all kind of stuff, I started to say, why don't I just start talking to my sisters to see what she's telling them, because something is not right. So I broke the rule, which is we were all going to my mother and she would all tell everyone how's everybody doing. Now I know that is part of the manipulation. She didn't want us to find out what she was saying to the other ones about the other one, if that makes any sense. So I broke that rule and I started talking to them, and I would say, yeah, why is it that you're borrowing money from her and you never pay her back? She don't have this money, at least that's what she says. And the one to be like, oh, I did pay it back. Oh, that's a lie. Or I paid half of it back. That's not true. Oh, no, I didn't ask her this. Oh, she told me the MRI was going to be this amount. I'm like, well, she told me this amount. Then we found out she told the other one another amount. So it was just a bunch of lies. The sister that she said wasn't taking care, wasn't really not taking care, but not really giving her any money, was like, no, that's a lie. I'm coming. I'm driving up there. I'm giving her money. I paid for this and I paid for that. And I'm like, well, that's not what she's saying. She's saying it like you barely give her any money at all, and dropped your kid and your animals off on her, And so she was like, that's not true. So we kept talking talking and just kept finding out that stuff wasn't true. At the time, like I said, I was celebrating holidays, so I was having her make wreaths. I was paying my mother to make the wreaths, saying my friends wanted them, because I didn't want her to keep getting in the habit of just thinking she was just going to keep getting money from me that I really didn't have to give. So I was like, okay, look, it was the holiday season, make some wreaths. I paid for it, but then she wasn't satisfied about that. I had her redo one because I didn't like how she did it, and she was complaining. I paid her over to do it and paid her over for another one. And she's like, well, I don't have the money. I'm like, well, you got paid like $20 over for the last wreath, and it didn't give me the money back. So what are you talking about? You don't have the money to do it. Go buy some yarn. You know, it ain't that hard. But anyway, so it was just problem after problem. And I told my sisters, don't tell, you know, you all try to buy some wreaths too. And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. But of course, that never happened. So again, and this was my fault, me just being always in this savior type of role. You know, I was taking on her problems when I should have, in hindsight, just looked back. And since I knew I was being manipulated, just to say, oh, well, how do you plan to deal with that? Oh, you can't pay this. Oh, you don't know how you're going to eat. Oh, how you plan to deal with that? Oh, how you want to cope with that? You know, if these were legitimate problems, yeah, I should have, you know, been in a predicament where, you know, in a place where I could help her more, or been more, I guess, empathetic or sympathetic, whichever one to her. But since I knew these were lies, it was no sense of me even going overboard trying to, you know, give her that narcissistic supply that she was after, because she knew good and well these were lies. So anyway, after all that, something happened. She started complaining about one of my sisters. So I hung up the phone from her, started testing one of my sisters on this, and I was like, you know what, this is wrong what you're doing to her. You should stop doing that. You know, why do you keep doing this? You know, she's in a bad spot and she keeps complaining about having no money, and you just keep coming. You know, I was totally out of line. I shouldn't have said anything. But then my sister was like, you know, and then I even called her out. I was like, you know, sometimes I try to call you, you don't call me back. You're just really flaky, you know, which was true. But anyway, but it's up to her if she want to call me back. But I did feel that way. Yeah, you're flaky, you're this and that, because I felt like some stuff she had done to me as well, you know. So I ended up, I told, you know, my sister was like, you know, oh, she's trying to work on it or whatever. And I went back to my mom and I was like, yeah, I called her out and I told her, you know, she shouldn't be taking advantage of you, blah, blah, blah. My mother totally flipped the script. She was like, who told you to call her? You shouldn't have called her. It's not a problem that she loans money. I always said I would be there for her and her family, and they can borrow money from me. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is not what you've been saying. You've been complaining about her for years. You've been saying she's taking money from you, and you know that you shouldn't be giving it, but you keep doing it, and it's been a problem. So all of a sudden, I say something to her about it. Now it's no longer a problem, and you're on board with this. Well, why have you been complaining for all these years? She's like, it's not that, you know, you're making a big deal of it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, I said, it seems to me that you like this drama. Since I finally said something to somebody who you've been complaining about for years, now you don't want to acknowledge it. I said, maybe you just like this. And she's like, oh, whatever, you shouldn't have done it. Who are you to call someone out? Then she brings up how she asked me for some money like 3 years prior, but I told her I was going to give it to her, which was true. My car, something happened to my car and I had to use the money for my car. And she knew that. So she was like, yeah, you told me some mess about your car. And I'm like, what do you mean mess? Something was wrong with my car. She was like, well, yeah, you still didn't give me the money. So then it's dawning on me like, wait, so I was supposed to be stranded in LA and, try to get around the best I could to give somebody some money who really don't need it, because how you steal 350 pounds and talking about you ain't got no food and you ain't lost an inch. It don't add up. I mean, come on. So anyway, she was going on and on about this. And then I told her, I said, it just seems like, you know, you like the drama. And then I mentioned something about her head. And I was like, and where is the, you know, how come you keep changing the data when you're getting this thing done in your head? You know, and I brought that up because a friend reminded me and was like, Samyra, your mother been trying to get money out of you for this thing on her hair for like 2 years now. She was like, you don't see the game yet? And it dawned on me like, yeah, that's right. Some years ago, she was still talking the same stuff. Like, dude, you ain't went to get this thing checked on yet? You still collecting collecting money 2-3 years later for this thing, getting money from people. I found out, I think one of my sisters had gave her money for it, and she still hadn't done anything with it. So she just collected money and collected money using this thing about that big bump on her forehead about, for years. So I called her out about that. She kept saying that she couldn't get anything done because the records were in another city. And I'm like, dude, we got family in that city who work in the nursing field. They can get it. Oh, well, I don't want anybody to know my medical business. Oh, okay, whatever. And then she claimed she called them herself. And then nobody could ever get back. 2-3 years, nobody getting back to you. It was just a bunch of bogus stuff. I just kept catching her in lie after lie after I started talking to my sisters. So what happened is that I said, I wish, basically that we can have a better relationship or something. She said something smart back regarding the health issue that I have, which is a health issue. And so after that, I was like, this person does not love me. This person does not care for me. This person is worse than an enemy. I've not even had enemies who've done me worse than my own mother has done. At that point, I was just like, okay. So I left it alone. I didn't talk to her for like a few weeks. And, I was trying to text one of my sisters to say how bad it was. And, then I end up texting that to my mom. So I texted her back, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have said some things. No, I should have said everything that I said. I should have said more, and I should have said it a long time before. So that's what I just said. I was trying to make it smooth it over because I didn't want her to be mad at me. So after that, I didn't talk to her. That was the last time I talked to her. That was like maybe 3 years ago. From my knowledge, I've lost my, I've kept the same phone number, excuse me, allergies. To my knowledge, she has never called me. I have not called her. About a month passed, like the Reeve, she still held on the one. She didn't send it. I was not talking to her, so I sent another thing. I talked to one of my sisters, said, won't you see if you could say something to her to get her to send that wreath? Again, this was dumb that I'm looking back on it, like, that I went to my sister, but she was like, what do you expect? You pissed her off. She a flying monkey. So what did I expect from my sister? She was always doing the bidding of my mother, and probably a narcissist herself. If she's not a narcissist, she has many of the tendencies. So, so from that point, I wasn't talking to my mother. She eventually sent the wreath, but she sent it like a month late. I finally did, the woman finally did get her wreath, a woman who had nothing to do with any of this. So, one day, how I figured out that it was narcissism, like I said, I study psychology. I have a degree in psychology, but I really didn't know what it looked like. We really didn't get a lot of training on personality disorders. It was more training on, major depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. But as far as seeing, having a case study of what narcissism looked like, I didn't know it. So I was naive, like a lot of people who think, narcissism is just someone that's full of themselves. But I didn't know about the nature, how cruel they are, how jealous they are, and how they plot to destroy a person by smearing them in with people who know them, to try to make them out like they're crazy, they're unstable, something's wrong with them, things of that nature. I didn't know how diabolical they are. So I thought it was just that one piece, even though I studied it and I had the DSM, what is it? The diagnostic manual. Basically, it's the manual that's used to give mental health diagnoses. So I didn't know. But one day I was sitting on the couch. I don't remember what I was doing, and it kept coming to my mind, your mother's a narcissist. And I'm arguing with my own self. I'm like, my mother's not a narcissist. I study psychology. I would know narcissism. And it just kept coming. Your mother's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. And it was so loud. It was my voice, nobody was speaking to me, outside of me. But I kept hearing it. She's a narcissist. So I went online, I got my DSM. I'm like, I don't see it. But once I went online, I found this lady named Sister Renee Patelli. Again, that's Sister Renee Patelli, and she's a Christian, and she was going about how the churches are really confused when it comes to narcissism, and how they try to get people to shame people to stay in relationship with toxic individuals, and not truly understanding how I guess, menacing these people are. And she went on with her own story about narcissism. And I kept reading stories she had online, and it caused me to start researching other people and start listening to YouTube videos. And I was very grateful for Sister Renee Patelli, as well as Lisa A. Romano, Inner Integration, Permission to Exist. Those 3 channels, because after hearing their stories, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. This is what I went through. And it helped me to be able to identify and say that it's a label. Some people get caught up these days and they're saying, well, everyone's using narcissism, everyone's doing this. Well, that may be true, but however, her, me is able to make a diagnosis. So I that don't apply to me. And I really think that a lot of people who are out there on YouTube, that even though they might not, can't make a diagnosis, that they know what it is they experience. And if a person has a lot of those symptoms, according to the DSM, it is what it is, and I know people can be like, oh, well, don't label. But sometimes it's helpful to have a label. Like, wow, my mother has a mental illness. Now I see what was going on. It was not me. It was not something wrong with me. It was not my fault. She has a freaking problem. But one thing I disagree with, I guess, with the mental illness is that, unlike other mental illness, with narcissism, these people can control this. They make up their mind to destroy other people. They know what they're doing. Like I said on other videos, my mother told me once that she knows how to push my buttons, and she plays me like I'm like a puppet master, making me go whichever way she wants. To me, I'm like, is that mental illness when you know what you're doing and you can actually verbalize what you're doing and you're plotting to destroy me? That seems like you're in control of that. But hey, now I didn't write the DSM, but it's called a mental illness, I'll say. But yeah, so that's what was going on. So with that research, it helped me to get the strength I needed not to go back, because I was always thinking, when I went to different church members, they were like, oh, well, that's your mom. Oh, well, she loves you. Oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, everybody has this, very just minimizing the experience that I went through, which was harmful for me because I had grown up being invalidated. Whatever I said, something was wrong with it, though. She even told an uncle of mine, I heard her tell on the phone, he was my father's uncle, and I hadn't seen my father in years, or his brother. And the brother called, and she's on the phone with him for like 20-30 minutes talking about how my mind works different and I don't think like other people, just totally trying to tear me down, because I didn't think about things just the way she thought about them. If I didn't agree with everything, I couldn't even have a decision of who remade the song I'm Going Down Better. Was it Mary J. or was it Rose Royce? She went off on me, screaming and hollering at me in front of somebody because I said I like Mary J's version. I couldn't even have a thought about a song. She would go off, or a thought about a look, or how I looked in a dress or a skirt or versus a pants. Everything had to be her way. And people at the church were making me think that I needed to work on it, saying, oh, you're saved now. You can deal with it now. Nobody told me, oh, you're saved now. Go and fast and pray and cast out the demons out of your mother that go by the name of narcissism. Nobody said that. It was just like, oh, you can handle. And I was going back and forth to her, oh, I can handle, and the more meek and nice and what I assumed to be Christ-like I did, the worse she got, baby. She ate that up. It was like, oh, you were already being naive. You were already not standing up for yourself as much as you should. Now you're coming with Christ and want to be even more meek, even more naive. Better pray. That's what I imagine she thought, because that's how it felt to me, because that just didn't work. But then when I started really reading the Bible more for myself, or doing more research online, I saw that Jesus was not a punk, nor was his followers. I mean, this watered down Christianity that people use, this meekness and all this forgiving people when there's been no change in the way that people treat others, is a bunch of junk. It's not biblical. It's only just people misunderstanding scriptures. And people in families like this that are evil, they thrive on the knowledge that other people will allow them to continue to be evil and not call it out because they want, oh, this is it's my family, I can't turn away from family, oh, it's my family, I have to forgive, oh, it's my family, I have to be there for holidays. And I'm here to say, as what Sister Renee Patelli was the first to do for me, just because it is family, it's not okay for people to abuse you. It's not okay for them to hit you, to scream at you, to embarrass you, to tell people your business, and you sit around and continue to just numb yourself down. Well, it doesn't bother me anyway. Yes, it bothers you. You have to tap into your feelings. Everything within you, like it was within me, was saying something was wrong with this. But I needed friends. I needed other family members. I needed church members to validate me because I wasn't strong enough at the time to validate myself. It was taboo in this society to talk bad about your mother or to say that something's wrong with your family and you're going to separate. And people would try to tell you, oh no, but every family just stayed. But I'm telling you, it's okay to go without explanation. When I went no contact with my mother, somebody, I don't know if it was on Instagram or somebody said to me, well, how did you get closure? And my thing was, I didn't need closure. This woman had been doing me evil since I was 6 years old up until the point I left. There was no need for closure. She knew what she was doing to me. I didn't need to go and say, well, Mom, you know how I felt this way and I felt. She was plotting to do me evil. So I could see if it was a regular relationship and you just have disagreements with your mom, but she's not like mentally ill to the point that she wants to destroy you, then of course have those conversations. I'm not saying just to go no contact for no reason, but if you have proof from years and years, like those of us raised with narcissists, you know what it is. They know what it is. It's no explanation, just goodbye. So I did not have a goodbye conversation with my mother. Common sense would tell her what was happening. I'm sure she got the meaning of me no longer calling her. So so after I decided, I read the Renee Patelli, I finalized in my head I was going no contact. At the time, even though me and my sisters didn't really talk much, I was still, I wasn't no contact with them. I ended up going no contact with one of my sisters when she sent me a text telling me, oh, it's your mom's birthday and you didn't tell her happy birthday. And I was like, okay, because by this time I knew the language of narcissism. I'm like, okay, she's a flying monkey. First off, I'm 6 years older than her. So the woman was my mother first. So for 6 years before my mother and my sister's father got together, I knew that my mother had a birthday. So I knew that she was playing games with me because I'm older than her. So I don't need her to tell me when my mother's birthday is. So I was like, yeah, okay, you're doing the bidding for her. I'm done with you. Because the thing is, she had treated me like crap for years. And I'm not saying this looking just at her, because I allowed it. I was trying to be in church and overly meek and nice and letting her scream and holler at me, and so I allowed that. So for me, healing is learning what you allowed, because we can always just point the finger at everybody else. But if we keep attracting these narcissists, psychopaths, all these other toxic people, something about us is not healed, and we're gravitating toward each other because we're meeting the needs of one another. So I have to acknowledge my portion, and then said I allowed her to treat me like crap for years, and she took advantage of that. Like some people will. When they find a doormat, they're gonna step on it. I can't blame that. So what I'll say is that I decided that, look, I didn't like her. I was trying to be nice with her all these years, and I just felt that, that maybe she was trying to pay me back from when we was younger, because I would have to watch them and always be around them. It was like they were my kids, and she wouldn't listen, and I would hit her. I'm not gonna lie, I used to hit her and hit her hard, and I was mean to her. She was mean to me. She was a thief, stealing my stuff, and I would hit her and punish her for that, and it was just a bad relationship all the way around. And I have apologized to her a few times since then, but something about it, I could tell she didn't forgive me. Excuse me, like I said, allergies. So, you know, that's her prerogative. But anyway, I decided now that I was not going to be a part of it. You know, I would send her daughter Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. I would send and do stuff and call, and I noticed that when returned, for me, I don't have kids, but still, a birthday card, a Christmas card, or something, you know, she could even say it was from my niece. None of that ever happened, and I'm like, why am I always the one giving and not getting anything back? I had someone tell me, well, you know, you don't have to do that to your niece. You know, I'm not punishing my niece, but my thing is that if my niece, once she's grown, if we want to have a relationship, that's fine. But I'm not about to call her mother and listen to her mother and be having that negativity. I'm not going to do it. And I figure if my niece gets old enough, if she wants to reach out, I would be there. But I'm not going through the channels of my mother or my sister to have to deal with anyone. And that's just how I protect myself. I know someone, like I said, was saying, oh, well, you know, your niece, she has nothing. You know, this is my life. I determine what's best for me. So I cut my sister off, and she sent me a message like when she found out she was cut off from Facebook. Oh, why you cut me off or something? And I said something like, I'm not doing no explanations. My younger sister, around the time when I stopped talking with my mother, she had asked me for some money, which I should have known that this was something I shouldn't have done because she has a history of not paying people back. But I decided to lend her the money. Everything in me told me don't do it. I lent her the money. She was supposed to send me the money back with a check. Sent me a check. I went to the bank. They looking at me crazy, saying, whoever gave you this check, you need to give it back to them. I'm like, what? They're like, we're not cashing it. Give it back. So I reached out to her. She said something about her and her wife. They didn't know the account was closed, something. So then I'm like, okay, look, just so she ended up sending me, I think, Western Union, or no, she mailed it to me again, but then she followed up with me. It was like 2 weeks. I still didn't have it. And you know, and she's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, when it got to me, it was sent to me like about the time after I talked to her on the phone, because I don't know, you know, whatever. But the stamp on the mail tells you when it was mailed. So anyway, I decided to go no contact with her. Months later, she reached out to me saying, you know, that she had been in therapy and she didn't know that she was one of the people that had offended me. And honestly, I didn't believe it. I part of me did, and another part of me didn't believe that it wasn't that she did it, that she didn't do it on purpose. But I just decided just to move on with it. So like I said, me and her, you know, we text every now and again. But my other sister, the one that I am no contact with, she would text me happy birthday or something like that. And sometimes I respond, sometimes I didn't. And the reason I didn't, it was because I'm like, she's not changed. You know, she knows what she did, why I stopped talking to her. And it's like, if she wants to reach out with something authentic and have some type of dialogue, I'm up for that. But you can keep your happy birthdays and hey, you know, during the birthday time, you know, that don't move me. If there's been no change in behavior, you know, no acknowledgement of what happened, and specific acknowledgement with the change of behavior, then I'm okay with that. You know, so I know some people ask, well, what do you want from your family? Do you want them to be sorry? I just want them to be authentic. You know, if there's a real relationship to come, it's going to have to be acknowledging the things that was done. And on my end, it will be acknowledging nothing, because I know anytime I thought that I've done something to them, I have been the one to apologize. But for me, it's like, I'm okay with that. I feel that, you know, people say family is all you have. Well, that's a harsh life to have if your family sucks. I think family is the family you decide. If you are made, you all have children, that's the family that you have. If your family from birth is sane, then you keep up with those family members by all means. But it's not okay to have people to abuse you in the name of family and feeling bad and guilty and apologizing when you haven't done anything wrong. To me, that message we send when we do that is that it shows that we don't have a backbone. It's okay to walk over us. We don't stand up for ourselves. And it's okay to be treated like crap. That's the message I think that's being sent to the toxic family members. So for me, my thing is, it's like you do with a child in timeout. You show them your behavior has been acceptable. So you're going to spend time alone. And that's what I did. To me, I've shown the behavior was acceptable. I love myself enough now to say I'm not going to be a part of it. You need to do some work on yourself. And until you do that and I have proof, then it's no contact, boo. Bye.